My name is Janelle Jarosky. I'm with Sequoia Health and Wellness Center, and I'm a community health nurse educator. And today we have a very important topic, and that's healthy tips for keeping your feet well. And it's very important because it's often a forgotten part of our body, and yet it is the foundation of everything we do. So today in this talk, I want to go through valuing our feet, how complex the structure is, how do our feet function, some astonishing facts. I think you'll find that. We'll then go into foot care, which is the focus of our talk today. And then we'll talk about good fitting shoes. And Tina is going to share a handout with all of you, which really captures what to look for in a pair of shoes. And I will just say before we get there, that's where it all begins and ends. So the way your shoes fit will impact your long-term foot health. So we'll talk about what do the wrong shoes look like, and a few little foot exercises. And then my favorite part of this talk is where my part's going to end with a little gratitude meditation for our feet. And then we'll open it up to questions. So I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation. So I want you to be thinking throughout, we're going to revisit this. What is the relationship of this picture that you're seeing to foot health? So we get to noodle on that while we're going through the presentation. So just to recapture how valuable our feet are, they're wondrously engineered, and they're vital to our overall well-being and quality of life. And I just want to emphasize that maybe the reason they're forgotten is that they're the furthest from our heart, and our circulation has to work really hard to get to this remote part of our body. So we'll, when we're talking about foot care, I'm going to revisit this, but we just really want to respect that heart health is my passion as an educator, and keeping our heart healthy relates directly to keeping our feet healthy. All right, go on. So just giving a little basically honoring our feet and how complex they are. Our feet hold 1/4 of the bones of our entire body. We have over 8,000 nerves, and that's more than anywhere else. Your feet contain 250,000 sweat glands. And each foot has 26 bones, 33 joints, 107 ligaments, 19 muscles and tendons. So we're going to just honor that structure and realize how important foot care really is. So what do your feet do? How do they function? Your feet serve as shock absorbers. They're responsible for propelling you forward or backward. And very important for older adults is your feet serve as your stabilizer. So another way to refer to that is they are responsible for your balance and well-being. So keeping your feet healthy is very relevant to preventing falls. So here's some facts for you. The average person walks 75,000 miles in their lifetime by age 50. An average day of walking puts 700 tons of force on your feet. 75% of Americans experience foot problems in their lifetime. And the majority of the foot problems are due to lack of awareness and proper care. So we have a huge opportunity to prevent foot problems. And we'll talk about one of the primary ways is getting a good shoe that fits. Okay. And most of us, and I'll be included in that group, tend to focus on your feet when there's a problem. Best is to get into preventative practices where you try to avoid them before they happen. So how do we have happy feet? Through foot care. So checking your feet and washing them daily is important. When you're checking them, you're looking for rashes, you're looking for blisters, you're looking for bruising of your toenails, just things that really are indicating that your feet are under stress. And a good time to check your feet is maybe after you get out of the shower or bath, or just build it into your daily routine. The other time that your feet should be checked, and it's very rare that this happens, is in your annual physical with your doctor. So example, I just had my physical, it was all about my abdomen, my lungs, my, heart, but my doctor never asked to look at my feet. So that is something I want you to be aware of, and your responsibility to take your socks off for that physical exam and really ask your doctor to look at your feet. And if the doctor has any concerns, the specialist that deals with foot and ankle care is called a podiatrist. So you should get a referral to a podiatrist if your doctor or you feel concerned about your foot health and well-being. So exercising your feet and ankles is also part of foot care. We're going to do 3 little exercises and we'll go through those in just a few minutes. This is back to circulation and heart health. It is so important for us to stay well hydrated, making sure we're drinking enough fluids that are not caffeinated, because caffeinated beverages take out a cup for every cup you put in. So it's okay. There's no absolutes. Certainly, I know I enjoy my coffee, but every time I have coffee, I try to grab a cup of water at the same time. So hydration is important because it enables circulation, and because your feet are furthest from your heart, the last thing you want is sluggish blood having to work overtime to get down there to nourish the nerves, the ligaments, the tendons, the tissue, and etc. And one of the main ways to do that is to, of course, keep your heart healthy and managing blood pressure, cholesterol, if you have diabetes, your blood sugar. But another big one that you can do in daily life that impacts foot health is stay hydrated, so that blood can get down to your feet. Avoid walking barefoot. I think that's self-explanatory. Put your feet up as often as you can. Certainly by the end of the day, it's normal to have a little bit of swelling. And now it makes a lot of sense when you think of 700 tons of force that your feet are serving as shock absorbers for. So putting your feet up makes sense. walking heel to toe, that takes a lot of conscious effort. This is the best friend to how your feet work and all that structure that we talked about. So while I was putting this presentation together, I realized that I don't do this. I tend to kind of come down hard on the middle of my foot. And then I do push off with my toes, but in order to leverage that shock absorption and to propel yourself forward, you really need to do heel to toe. And that takes focus. That takes a lot of paying attention, and it's just something that you might have to retrain yourself to do. And I'm in that group. I'm working on my retraining right now. Quality shoes, we're going to talk about next. It's just, again, I think all of us can take inventory and realize that staying tuned into our feet is so important, and seeking care if you have concerns. Go to the next slide. So, you know, I just had a little fun with this, right? If the shoe fits, wear it. In my days at teaching this class, I found a really sort of 1, 2, 3 way to see and check when you're buying shoes if they're worth buying. So the first test that you might want to do is you press on both sides of the heel. And I brought some crazy shoes that are mine, and they've caused me a lot of havoc. And I have put them in my garbage, and I brought them back out for this presentation. The reason is, if you push on the sides, it absolutely breaks that rule because it collapses. There's no integrity. Rule 2 is getting to the front of the shoe, the back of the shoe, and pushing. That should not do any folding. Okay, so this shoe has broken rule number 2. The third way to test your shoes is to see if they twist. So I have brought an example to you that are my own shoes that may actually have contributed to I'm having some tendon inflammation in my foot as we speak. So I'm right in the group. If you're finding you have foot problems, go ahead and do the 1, 2, 3 test to see if the shoe fits. So shouldn't collapse when you squeeze the sides of the back, shouldn't fold in half when you're pushing the rear to the front, and it certainly shouldn't twist. That's a setup for foot problems. So that's demonstrated here. The other thing that you should look for in a pair of shoes is that it rocks. It rocks from heel to toe. That helps build that dynamic of walking properly. So I'm going to show you now a pair of my tennis shoes, and they actually meet all the test requirements. So I'm pushing on the side. They're not collapsing. I'm going toe to heel, and I'm pushing hard. There's a little bend. Some flexibility is fine, but they're not folding in half. And now I'm doing the twist test, and there's no twisting happening there, just a slight amount. So please do the 1, 2, 3 test when you're buying shoes, and those will be in your handout that we're going to provide to you, those guidelines. So let's just talk about buying shoes. today, all the rage is online buying. And one of the recommendations by the American Podiatry Medical Association, APMA, is try not to buy your shoes online. That's a good setup for them being problematic. Our feet change over time, especially as we get older. The ligaments and the tissue and the tendons relax, which reshapes our feet and actually can change the length and width. So it's recommended that you measure your feet, both length and width, at least yearly. I mean, more cautiously, it would be to do that each time you buy a new pair of shoes. It's important to make sure when you're measuring your feet that you're standing up, because that's how it best represents how you're walking. So sitting down and putting the measurer there, that may not be accurate to measure your length and your width. They should, so many folks I hear say, oh, I'm breaking my shoes in. That is actually the opposite of what you want to do when you're buying shoes. I mention and practice myself that when you put your foot in a shoe, it should fit and feel comfortable immediately. Breaking your shoes in is like breaking your feet and welcoming foot problems. So if you're in a store, you should walk around a little bit. And if that store has carpeting and maybe non-carpeted floors, just make sure you hit every terrain within that store. If you're getting running shoes, walking shoes, and such, if there happens to be a treadmill there, that's another great way to attest the comfort. But again, they should be comfortable immediately. The wide toe box is important. You can see it in these tennis shoes that I'm showing you here. There's a good width here so that your toes can wiggle. You can have as much as ½ an inch in from your longest toe, and then the width should be adequate so it's not rubbing. So back to my other shoes, that toe box, there is no toe box. They are more for fashion and style and a setup for foot problems. So wide toe box, fitting to your largest foot. So many of us have 2 sizes. Be ideal if shoe stores would sell mismatched sizes, but they don't. So make sure you fit to the largest foot. And you can accommodate the smaller foot, but you cannot lengthen shoes once you buy them. So shoes need a back of some sort. That's the only way to support the heel to toe walking. So little slippers and flip-flops are overrated. I want to mention at this point that does that mean you can never wear slippers, never go out and wear sandals? No, but it's just to be aware that those can contribute to foot problems. So if that's your primary type of shoe, think about sparingly wearing them, but this is not about any absolutes. Just know that your foot is not being supported. If you have foot problems, I would say get to your podiatrist, which is a foot doctor specialist, and you may even need an insert to your shoe, and the podiatrist is going to encourage a shoe with a toe and definitely a back. Lace shoes fit better. I think that speaks for itself. You can loosen them as the end of the day comes and you're feeling a little swollen, and then you can tighten them up in your start to your day when your feet are not as broad. So shop for shoes at the end of the day. That's a nice tip. And now back to socks. I'm going to give myself away a little bit for that first picture that I showed. I'm going to show it at the end, but because our feet have 250,000 sweat glands, it should be expected that our feet are going to sweat. So it's very important to buy moisture wicking socks. So what are moisture wicking socks? So cotton actually absorbs moisture, and that sits on our feet and sets us up for infection. Moisture wicking socks are primarily acrylic. That sounds very fabricated, but acrylic socks wick the moisture away, which is, you're interested in that, and wool. And a combination of those two, an acrylic wool blend, works as well. Wool socks can be very expensive, but be very mindful that if you're buying socks, you want to really watch the cotton content. You want to focus on moisture wicking socks. Time. Okay, so signs you're wearing the wrong shoes. A little bit of fun here, right? Foot pain is never normal. So the whole breaking the shoe in, if you have foot pain, those shoes are not a good fit. So just remember, foot pain, never normal. Feeling unsteady. So the fall risk as we get older increases. And any shoes that have a heel greater than 1.5 inches is going to contribute to the risk of fall. Our feet, that's one of the primary roles they play. That's why we need to keep them healthy, is balance. And risk of fall or a fall itself puts us in a category of a disabling injury or even death. Our feet are responsible for movement. If we cannot move or move well, we're putting our whole bodies at risk. Skin irritation will give you a little clue that your shoes are not fitting well, so looking at them daily. And I'm going to show you a little device in a minute. Looking again, inspecting your feet if there's toenail bruising or any damage or pain right at the tips of your nail. Those are probably the wrong fit. Corns and calluses are just skin piling up, and your feet develop corns and calluses when there's too much pressure in one area on your foot related to your shoe itself. And foot deformity, you want to be watching your feet, looking at your arches. If your arches are starting to collapse, you need to contact and get an appointment with a podiatrist. That may take going through your primary care provider to get that referral, but you want to get to the foot specialist. If we had a broken arm, we wouldn't go to a gastrointestinal doctor that looks at stomach and those things. We would go to an orthopedist. And our feet are often very neglected by not reaching out to a podiatrist. This is a little fun mechanism. You think, how can I look at my feet? Like, that's tough. So this is a telescoping mirror and allows you the length of your arm to get to looking at the bottom of your feet, the top of your feet, the sides, and areas that you don't see well, the heels. And that could be in your little handy foot care set of tools. And you can get them at the dollar store and hardware stores. So I feel it's worth investing in a telescoping mirror. So some foot exercises. Just like any other part of our body, we need to be exercising our feet. So what does that look like? These are basic. There's many that you can find from validated sources like the American Podiatry Medical Association. If you Google that, you're lucky to have access to a computer or smartphone, Google that and you'll find more. But this one, these are just basic that can be visualized. So you could drop a little hand towel on the floor, take a seat so you're stable, and just grab the towel with your toes and then release it. And do 10 of those on each foot. What that's doing is that's exercising 107 ligaments, 33 joints, the muscles, 19 muscles, 19 tendons. It's vitally important. And it'll also kind of highlight if there's any pain in the toe area. So you should be able to wiggle your toes, separate them a little bit, and maybe do a simple exercise like the toe curls. The heel raises are pretty straightforward. You start with your foot flat and then you go up on your toes. So your heels are in the air. You want to make sure that if you do that, you are stable. It may require, for balance purposes, that you have something to hold on to. And then range of motion is just taking at the point of the ankle, doing little circles clockwise, then counterclockwise. And a very fun one that is a great way to do range of motion is actually to take your feet and your toes and spell out in the air the alphabet from A to Z. And that works every aspect of our very complex foot structure. So range of motion. So I'm going to just add in, this is a little piece of wisdom. And what it is about is it's a tool called habit stacking. So it's been researched that if we take something, I'm going to give an example, like brushing your teeth. For me, I do that every morning, every evening, and any other time I can, but those are 2 set times. As I'm brushing my teeth, I have bundled in doing 10 heel raises. So I just, as I'm brushing, go up on my toes, drop it back down. I hold onto the sink so I'm stable. So let's see, anything that you do. Oh, here's another example. Let's just say you watch TV. Okay. You can bundle. So let's say I watch the evening news. I really do. So I bundle doing my range of motion. So I'll go ahead and spell out the alphabet. I'm watching the news, no interruptions. And then I do both feet. So habit bundling is research-based, that you find something you do every day, and then you build in a new habit that you're trying to put into your daily regiment. So I hope you'll find that useful. And then
now I'm doing the exercise right now while managing the community.
That's good. I love it. Sitting at our computer, you'll find where that works, but it has to be specific to your life, for sure. So close to my heart, and primarily my focus as an educator is on heart health and diabetes. So I really want to pause and say, for anybody, foot care is critically important, but control diabetes and foot care, it has to be in the same sentence every day. So because your feet are most at risk when you have diabetes, you have to work extra hard to keep that circulation going and stay healthy. So blood sugar control, number one. If your sugars are out of control, you're setting yourself up for nerve damage, poor circulation, and a thing called peripheral neuropathy. All of it is preventable. Thorough daily inspection. You need, it's really important maybe to get a telescoping mirror. You're looking at your heels, your soles, the top of your feet, each toe one at a time. That's daily. Okay. Do not soak your feet. That dries your feet out. You want to wash them with warm water and dry them thoroughly, and particularly between the toes. So all of this applies to everybody, but very important that those with diabetes really respect and foster foot care. Properly fitting shoes should have a back and a closed toe, so you're not at risk of stubbing your toe and such, or your heel, because that's a setup for blisters that can be difficult to heal once they're there. So you're in prevention mode. White socks, just give you a quick story as we want to save time here. We're at the close of this almost, is that my father, who's now my late father, had diabetes. He happened to have peripheral neuropathy, where many of those nerves, we're talking about 8,000 nerves in your feet, were damaged, and he lost sensation. And early in the morning, he stepped on a thumbtack in the house, had no idea. He was going to take his socks off at the end of the day, and he noticed that his foot was bleeding. He had dark socks on. So if he had white socks, he might have noticed that bleeding right away. So as simple as it seems, if you have diabetes, there could be peripheral neuropathy, lack of feeling. It is really important to stock up on white socks and those without a tight elastic band. Also, cutting your toenails, it's actually recommended, if you're going to do them yourself, to file your toenails and do that straight across the top. And see a podiatrist at least yearly if you have any foot concerns or you have nerve damage. That should be much more frequently. When you have diabetes, that foot exam, that should at least be yearly. They take a little, it's called a monofilament. They have you close your eyes and they touch different points in your feet. And they ask, do you feel here? Do you feel here? Do you feel here? And they're checking the sensory abilities of the bottom of your feet. Okay, and that's related to nerve damage. Make an appointment immediately. That's capital I, if you feel like you have any foot concerns or problems. Now, relationship to your foot health, I kind of gave it away, but this is just representing your feet are sweating. Okay, and it's important to realize that and make sure you have properly fitting shoes that air out and with a wide toe box and enough room, half an inch at the front of the longest toe, maybe 1/8 of an inch at the rear, so that they can breathe, and those moisture wicking socks. Okay. Now this is my favorite part of all, and we're going to do a little gratitude for our special feet here. It at home, if you're wherever you are, try to get as comfortable as you can. I recommend if you can put your feet on the ground, you feel the ground firmly underneath your feet. And you might even visualize that your feet are like a tree growing roots. Okay, now close your eyes. That's if you feel comfortable and you're in a place where that's going to work for you. And you're going to see me close my eyes because I don't know how to do it any other way when I'm meditating. Just take a couple of deep breaths. If you want, put your hand on your belly or your stomach. When you breathe in, your belly should go out like a balloon. So you breathe in through your nose, and it's a deep breath in. So inhaling, should have a big balloon belly. Hold it for a second and then blow out. And the blowout is through your mouth, and your little balloon there should deflate. So I'm going to ask you to just take a couple of deep breaths. I'm going to do that myself, and then I'm going to read you a little meditation, and then we'll finish up on that. Okay, so let's go ahead and do your individual breathing. You continue to deep breathe, and I'm going to read you a little meditation. I want you to feel light warming your face, moving down to your neck, your chest, your stomach, and your thighs. Now I want you to feel this warm light reaching your knees, your calves, your ankles, and your feet. Let your legs relax at the touch of this warm light. Feel your feet touching the floor. Feel the soles of your feet and each one of your toes. Rest your attention on your feet for a moment. They have taken you so many places. They are tireless, strong, dependable. Feel the light warming up your feet and give thanks to them for being the marvelous gift that they are. Give thanks for all the walks, the dances, the hiking, the jumping, and biking that they have allowed you to enjoy. Now bring your attention to the breathing. Feel the air coming in and out of your chest slowly in a profound and rhythmic motion. Feel the light pulsating in your chest. Bring your attention to your surroundings. Listen to the noises around you. Let your world back in. Keep your eyes closed for a minute. And when you're ready, finally, slowly open your eyes. So you're coming back into your space. I hope you enjoyed that meditation. we want to make it a daily ritual to thank our feet for everything they do to us and the vital part that they are and play in our quality of life. So I'm going to end with this quote we've all heard, but an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Janelle, thank you. Janelle, do you have a couple of time for 2 questions?
I do.
Oh, perfect. We have a question that came through. Is that, can you explain why we should not go barefoot? My grandma used to tell me to go barefoot to toughen my feet.
Okay, so with bare feet, I want to revisit that by just saying there are no absolutes, but the walking barefoot puts you at high risk for injuring your feet. Yes, the old adage of, walk barefoot and to toughen them up is really a choice. You're weighing out risk and you're weighing out benefit. And in this case, I think the risk of walking barefoot opens you up to injury, and there's an opportunity to prevent that, stubbing your toe, stepping on something, getting calluses, and many other things that can happen going barefoot. So I actually stepped on a bee one time, which was not very fun. So walking barefoot is not your best friend in terms of prevention. So moderation is the key.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, do you recommend the customized inserts for your shoes?
Okay, so I have touched base with that world because I have a foot injury. And so there's a couple answers to that. So hopefully your insurance might cover a podiatry visit. So that's a specialist, right? That knows, that's all they studied was feet and ankles, right? So that's where you're going to start. Okay. I know from firsthand that getting customized orthotics, if you're fortunate enough to be able to afford them, that's fine. I said no. They can be upward of $500. All right. So please don't take that as advice. I'm sharing my personal experience because it is out of reach for many people. But the podiatrist may be able to recommend, depending on what is going on with your feet, if you pronate inward, if you push outward when you're walking, or you're really heavy with the flat foot, that the podiatrist, and that's what happened for me, is he said, he gave me a list of shoes that he might recommend, but also said, I get it, you're not doing these custom ones. This is one that you can buy over the counter at a good shoe store. So I didn't bring mine, but it was much less, but they're still expensive, $60, $70. And he advised there's different colors. I got the green foot insert. I don't even know who it's made by, but endpoint is it helped me because I needed a stabilizing orthotic. So I purchased a pair of shoes that were recommended on this very long list, and I bought this over-the-counter insert at that shoe store, and I am back walking and doing my regular routine, and the inflammation in this tendon that was wrapping around my inner foot has completely calmed down. So my recommendation is if you can start with a foot specialist called a podiatrist, even if you have to pay out of pocket, one consultation could make the difference in your mobility long-term and preventing falls. So that's my recommendation. I want to thank you all. We're 1 minute short of finishing. I hope you enjoyed this. Please take time to look at the handout that I've provided Tina to share with you. It really begins and ends with the shoes that you decide to wear. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Janelle. Thank you.
Bye now.